Hi, my name's Elsa and welcome to my library. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I have bought so far this year, which you cannot see all of them right now, but there is a massive stack next to me. So let's get into it. Another preface is that the fact that it's only March and I have somehow accumulated this many books, and I'm just checking if there's any. Oh, there's another one. I knew I'd be missing some, guys. And that one. Oh god, okay. There's more than I even remember there being. Are there any others on my shelf that I've forgotten about that I've bought? Anyway, we have a lot of books to get through. I'm gonna try and go through them as quick as I possibly can. I don't even want to count these, but I'll count them at the end. But yeah, I've only got like 3 sections that are like single authors. Everything else is a bit of a mix bag of bits and pieces, so but let's just get started. So I have here Jane Baldwin's Giovanni's Room. I needed to read this as part of a class for uni, but not till like next year, but I like to be really ahead anyway. But I'm trying to read more classics, and I'd seen lots of reviews of this one on my Bookstagram and on BookTok as well, and so I thought I would give it a go. I know that it is about 2 men who end up falling in love in Paris, I believe. Yeah, but one of the men is actually engaged to a woman, and she is back in America. And that's pretty much all I know, but this has such brilliant reviews. It seems to have a lot of people in chokehold, and definitely sounds like it set the path for later novels. So I'm very interested and excited to read this one. The next book we have here is Winter in Sokcho. I'm definitely mispronouncing that, so I do apologize. In Korea, between the north and the south of Korea. So I'm very interested to read this. I really do not know anything else. I mostly bought it because the cover is literally stunning, and anything that's pink I'm very likely to buy. So yeah. The next 2 that I have here, both by Leigh Bardugo, I got Hellbent and Ninth House. Ninth House I read last year for the first time and absolutely loved it, but I borrowed my cousin's copy at the time, and then I was really excited to read Hellbent. Yes, I'm very cranky that they're not the same size, but I should have known that buying this when this was first released. But anyway, but I definitely think from the reviews that I've seen so far that I need to reread Ninth House to brush up my memory before I jump into Hellbent. So I now have both texts and I'm very excited to get into it. I have seen a few reviews on Hellbent, but trying to avoid as many spoilers as possible. But what I have learnt is that it's nowhere near as graphic as Ninth House was. But I'm very excited to get back into Ninth House, back into this world, and the character of Alex Stern, because she is one mighty character. But yeah. The next 2 that I have here are both by TJ Klune. Again, very excited for his new release, In the Lives of Puppets, and I think it comes out in May, so we still have quite a bit of time before it comes out. But I have The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I absolutely adored. I read it last year in June or July, around the same time that I started my Bookstagram. And I absolutely adored it. It kept me up at night. Like, I just did not want to put it down. Such beautiful magical realism, and definitely has a very special place in my heart. So I'm excited to finally have my own copy, because I want to reread it and annotate it, because there is some very beautiful ideas and lines in this story. And then I also bought Under the Whispering Door, which I think was TJ's first like magical realism. I know he has another series. This is published in 2021. Yeah. Anyway, but I have not read this yet, but it is high up on my list of books to read. Just because, again, it's magical realism. Look how cute the graphics are on the front cover. That little house looks so cute. And yeah, I really like TJ Klune's writing, so I'm excited to read this. Book on here that I have also actually read is Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. Again, I'm completely butchering that name, but this was incredible. I bought this when I was in Noosa, which was like 2 weeks ago, and it was absolutely brilliant. I read it in a day on the beach, and it looks at cannibalism and the idea of creating and genetically modifying humans the same way that we may do for animals for meat. Very interesting concept, very strange, very gruesome, and highly addictive to read. It just like, I could not stop reading it. But there's definitely some really graphic ideas in here. But again, one that I want to reread and actually spend my time annotating and looking at. But yeah, I also read this after watching The Menu on Disney Plus, and just the two of them are playing in my mind a lot, and I kind of can't stop thinking about them. So very excited. This next book I have, I also bought when I was in Noosa, and this is Bitter by Kewi Emezi. I'm really excited to read this. I don't know if I need to read Pet first. I don't think I do. I'm not sure. I know that they also have another novel, Pet, and I'm not actually sure if they're related or if they're companion novels or if they're entirely different, but I've heard brilliant things about this. Again, the cover art is absolutely stunning. The same for the cover art for Pet. And if they had a copy of it, I would have bought it, but they didn't. So the next one I have is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. All over TikTok, all over Bookstagram. I've been meaning to get to it for ages. I also have the audiobook for this. So I'm very excited. I'm just venturing into sports romance because I've never really gotten into the whole sports romance thing. But this is about hockey and ice skating, so I think it could be quite sweet. I'm currently reading The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and that's an NFL player and like a ballet teacher, and I'm really loving that. But it's very light on the sports element, so I'm not sure, but I've only heard great things about this. Again, I'm excited. I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy it, because a lot of romances that are popular online I really do not enjoy, so I'm a little bit nervous, but we will see how we go with this one. Next book I have here is Kim Young Born 1982. I read this last year as well, I think around August, September time, and I just absolutely adored it. I think it is such an important story about the different roles of a woman. Another book I bought recently was Mona. I've already read this and I talked about it in my February wrap up, which is on my TikTok and my Instagram. But I didn't absolutely love this. I thought it was no plot, just vibes, which I'm often really into. Like, I love literary fiction. However, I feel like this was too short in order for it to make any formal impact, because she kept jumping from ideas, which is completely in line with the character of Mona, and I totally understand that, but it just kind of got a bit lost on me. I think it's probably something that I would pick up again and reread at a different point in time, because I'm definitely interested in the concept of it. I own it. Maybe I'll read it again. Maybe I'll get rid of it. That's all I got. The next book I have is a beautiful hardcover of one of my favorite books of 2022, and that is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malors. This story just completely grabbed me by the throat and said, I will make you mine. And it completely did that. It was so addictive and so real in the way that it is written that it just honestly blows you away in every single way possible. Again, literary fiction following our two characters, Cleo and Frank. They meet at a New Year's Eve party and have a one-night stand. That one-night stand then turns into a marriage to allow Cleo to get a green card to stay in the US. Obviously, this very rushed relationship and this rushed marriage has its consequences, as these two don't really know much about one another and their lives completely start to fall apart, as well as the lives of the people around them, their friends, their families, their colleagues, everything like that. And what I think Coco does so well is she goes into those lives of those people and gives them a voice. She gives the side characters a voice so you can hear from them. You don't just hear from, you know, Cleo and Frank about what is happening. You hear from everyone around them of how their stupidity and their recklessness ruins other people's lives and how it impacts them. And it was just absolutely brilliant. I always talk about this book because it just holds so much power. The next book I have is a thickie, hence why I'm scared to start it, and that is Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen. I know that this is a family dynamics literary fiction, follows a family over a long period of time. The next book we have here is Panika by Roden Hessian. Again, guys, if I'm saying any of these authors' names wrong, I do apologize. I butcher most things. But anyway, this is an Irish novel and it was shortlisted for the Irish Novel of the Year. I know that it is about a father who I believe is an ex-soccer player. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's an ex-soccer player. He's now 50, has 2 children. He's having a midlife crisis. And it's a really interesting look on men's mental health from what I have read about it, which I feel like I don't read about a lot, but is definitely a topic of interest to me, as I wrote a piece on men's mental health for one of my final projects for year 12. So it definitely is an area of interest, and I just haven't read that much fiction about it, and I feel like I don't know of a lot of authors or a lot of novels that are centered around male characters or their mental health and their family dynamics. So I'm very interested to read this, and if you have any suggestions for books about men's mental health, I would definitely be interested. So yeah. The next book I have here is Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. I have started this book and I am enjoying it. It's definitely an interesting concept, but as I said in my books I want to start / finish in March, I think I'm going to switch over to the audiobook. Just for the moment, I've heard really great things about the audiobooks. This is not a long book. It is only like 200 pages. But I think just to help me really get into the story, I'm going to start with the audio. But again, the cover is like pinky toned and it's really cool. And it's another literary fiction. So right up my alley. The next 2 books I have are both by Eve Babbitt, and they're both pink, and I love that. I have Slow Days, Fast Company, and Sex and Rage. I've started this one, I haven't started Sex and Rage yet. Slow Days, Fast Company, The World, The Flesh in LA is set in LA. And it's different stories from Babbitt's lifetime living in LA, growing up in LA, being a young writer in LA. How many times can I say LA? And so far I'm really enjoying it. The introduction by Matthew Spector was brilliant and definitely introduced me to more information about Eve Babbitt, because I knew very limited about who she really was. I only knew kind of what I'd seen on TikTok, which wasn't even a great deal, and sometimes you question whether things on TikTok are real or not. So the introduction was really good and definitely gave me more insight. Sex and Rage is set in 1970s in LA as well. Next book I have here is New Animal by Ella Baxter. Again, another literary fiction, women being women, but this one is actually written by an Australian author, which I didn't know when I bought it, and now I'm a little bit nervous because I really struggle reading things written by Australian authors. And I don't know if it's just me, because I go to books and to novels to escape, and when they're set in a place that I know, I kind of find it hard to read. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, I don't even know if it's actually set in Australia or if just the author's Australian. I know that the author's Australian, but I don't know if it's also set in Australia. But I imagine that it is. But I don't know, so maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, New Animal. The last book here is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Look at this cover. I've waited so long for this to be available on Amazon for me, and I was just so excited. I've read this before, but I borrowed it from the library. Maybe I even read it on my phone. I can't remember. But this edition is just so stunning, and it's pink and the images, and it just sums it up perfectly, and I knew I had to have this edition. So I'm so excited. I really want to reread this. This is like my favorite friends to lovers, second chance romance. And yeah, Elliot is like my dream book boyfriend. He's incredible. Him and Nathan from the cheat sheet are like up there constantly. So very excited about this. The next lot of books we are going to try and speed through because I've already been filming for like half an hour and I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me ramble on. I bought this beautiful copy of Ariel by Sylvia Plath. By Sylvia Plath. Oh my goodness. For those of you that don't know, Sylvia Plath is one of my favorite authors and I adore her so much, and I really enjoy studying her work, including the bell jar, but also her poetry. But moving on very quickly to 3 author collections that I have acquired this year. So the first is Jessa Hastings and the Magnolia Parks universe. So here we have Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home, and Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. All of these novels that break your heart in different ways every single time. But thoroughly enjoyed all of these. Be the final author collections. I'm going to show you the covers and things. I'm not going to talk too much about them because for one of these collections I have not read anything by the author yet, but I bought all their books. So let's start there. I bought pretty much the entire Elena Ferrante collection. I have a problem. This is not news. But anyways, here we go. Ella Ferrante, The Story of a New Name, The Story of the Lost Child, My Brilliant Friend, which I saw excerpts of and was like the reason that I bought all of these books. Those Who Leave and Those Who Stay, The Lying Lives of Adults, In the Margins, which is on reading and writing. This one's more like a non-fiction one. And The Days of Abandonment, which I featured in my March hopefuls. So that's all of those. They're all translated from Italian, and that's about all I have because I don't have like any information about any of those stories yet because I haven't read any of them. Yet bought the whole collection. But anyway, moving on to the final lot of books, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, and they are these beautiful editions of Shakespeare. These are the Pelican Shakespeare by Penguin classics, and these are some of the most beautiful editions I've ever seen of these books, of these plays. Willie Shakespeare holds a very dear place in my heart, which again I spoke about more in my March hopefuls video, but he got me through high school and really introduced me to my love of the English language and of English literature, and I think there's a lot of value that can still be found in his work. I think you just have to look for it and you have to have an understanding of the time period and of Old English language. But yes, so we'll quickly go through these. So we have Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, which was the second one we ever studied in high school. Much Ado About Nothing, A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is the first Shakespeare that I ever studied, Twelfth Night, Othello, which is a personal favourite, King Lear, The Tempest, which I studied for my HSC, and Hamlet, which is another one of my personal favourites. We did it! Those are all the books that I have recently bought. I don't want to think about how much money I've spent because that will be a very dangerous number. But I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what books you have recently bought, what books you are most interested in within the collection that I have just shared. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys.